Welcome to another deep dive. We're tackling Millennials versus Gen Z today.
Yeah. Millennials versus Gen Z, it's a hot topic.
It really is. And honestly, we got a ton of articles on this.
Yeah.
Some could call it like a generational war. Others a love story.
Yeah,
So,
all right.
which is it? Are Millennials and Gen Z going to be okay?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. When you dig into it, it's less about like a war and more about just different upbringings, right?
Right.
Like millennials,
Yeah.
we remember dial-up.
Oh, yeah.
Gen Z treats Wi-Fi like it's oxygen, like it's just gotta have it.
Totally different worlds.
Yeah. So how does that actually, how does that manifest in the real world?
Well, that's what I really want to get into because it's such a tangible difference, right? Like, I actually remember a time before smartphones, before social media, and I try to explain that to people who are younger, and they can't even...
It's unfathomable.
It's unfathomable.
Yeah, and it's not just like a technological thing. It affects how you think about communication, Like millennials, we might have passed notes in class,
Yeah,
agonized over writing the perfect email.
totally.
Gen Z just slides into the DMs without a second thought.
Yes, 100%. And it's not even just communication. It's the way that you approach work, the way that you think about problems. Even our senses of humor are different because of this.
Totally.
We had to explain what a hashtag was to people.
Exactly.
It's wild.
And it goes even deeper than that, right? Because it's not just those little things. It's their whole worldview on things like social issues, work ethic. A lot of the articles you share really went into that.
Absolutely. And that's what I found so fascinating is how can something that seems so simple, like when you grew up with a smartphone or not, can create such a big difference.
Huge impact, yeah.
But I do think it's important to say, even though there are these differences, they're not completely different species.
No, they're not from different planets or anything like that.
Right.
There's a lot of common ground.
Yeah, like what we...
Well, for one, they both grew up with crazy fast technology changing all the time.
That's true.
Economic uncertainty has been a factor for both of them. And I think you could also say that both generations are digitally fluent.
Yeah.
Even if that looks different for each generation.
Totally.
And they're both facing these huge problems, right?
Yeah.
Like climate change, social justice issues, all of that.
So it's not about saying one generation is better. It's more about understanding where they're coming from.
Totally. And how we can all get on the same page.
Yeah, because this isn't just some abstract thing. It's we have to work together.
This is the real world. This is how we actually function as a society.
Exactly. How do we learn from each other and
Right.
build something that works for everybody?
And that's what makes this so interesting to me, at least. Because it's not just about millennials and Gen Z, right?
Right.
It's how does any generation deal with the one that came before and the one that comes after?
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
What are Gen Z going to be reminiscing about
Yeah.
in 20 years? What's going to be their dial-up?
Exactly. Will it be... I remember back before VR was everywhere or before self-driving cars.
Or before AI could write all of our scripts for us.
Right. And how is that going to color how they see the world?
Yeah.
And how they deal with next generation? It's this endless cycle.
Totally.
And if we can spot the patterns, that's how we figure out how to actually make things work.
And it makes you realize that these generational divides that we always hear about are not this huge gap. It's more we're all just stepping stones on this.
Building on each other.
Exactly. Building on what came before to make something new.
And the tech is only speeding up, right?
Yeah.
So this is only going to get more and more important, figuring out how to talk to each other,
Totally.
how to work together, how to make progress. It all depends on understanding this stuff. So true. Well, on that note, maybe next time you see a meme you don't quite get, or you're struggling to communicate with someone at work, or even just in your personal life.
Yeah.
Think about this. Think about those generational differences.
Where are they coming from?
Exactly. Because when we understand where everyone's coming from, it's a lot easier to build bridges instead of walls.
I like that.
And that's what it's all about, right?
That's what it's all about.